Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at something that is, well, you could argue it's the biggest design flaw in human history.
Yeah, that's a bold way to put it.
I mean, it's sitting under your sink right now, it's
Right.
clogging up our oceans, and it's probably the most abundant resource we have that we just refuse to use.
A design flaw.
Yeah,
Looking at the research we have today on waste management, you aren't really wrong.
we're talking about trash.
Oh, okay.
But before we get into the bins and the recycling codes, I want to take you to Chandigarh in India. You saw the notes on the rock garden.
Oh, it's an incredible case study, an 18-acre sculpture garden.
Right.
But there's no marble, no granite. The whole thing is built from industrial and home waste.
Things like broken bangles, ceramic shards, thrown away electrical fixtures.
Yeah.
And what hits me about that isn't just that it's beautiful, it's that it proves a fundamental point. Waste is really just a label we put on something when we lack the imagination to use it again.
That is the core of it. I mean, technically, the definitions in our sources call waste material discarded after the completion of a process.
A very dry definition.
Very. I prefer the biological view. In nature, waste doesn't really exist. The output of one organism is just the input for another.
A fallen leaf feeds a fungus.
Exactly. We are really the only species that creates stuff that fits nowhere in the system.
And that's the mission today. We are going to try to reverse engineer that flaw. We're looking at the biology of decomposition, the chemistry of plastics, and the strategy of the 5 Rs.
To see if we can stop treating garbage as just a nuisance.
And start treating it as a failure of system design.
And to do that, we have to start with the taxonomy. What exactly are we throwing away?
Right. Now, when I think of waste, I just think of the black bag on the curb. But the sources point out that waste is, well, it's a shapeshifter. It isn't just solid.
No, and that's a common blind spot. We're actually talking about 3 states of matter here.
Mm.
You have solid waste, which is the domestic trash, the agricultural husk, industrial scrap, that's the visible stuff.
Sure.
But then you have liquid waste.
Which would be, what? Dishwater.
Dishwater, yes, but think bigger. Industrial effluents, runoff from farms that's loaded with fertilizer.
So it flows into the water table, invisible, but very potent.
Very. And then maybe the most dangerous one, gaseous waste.
The invisible enemy.
Exactly. Vehicle exhaust, factory smoke, even just burning leaves in your backyard releases carbon monoxide. That smoke is waste just as much as a candy wrapper is.
It's just suspended in the air. Okay, so it's everywhere.
Hmm.
But for the sake of what we can control in our daily lives, the sources really drill down into that solid waste. And this is where we hit the most critical divide. The battle between the bio and the non-bio.
This is the fundamental concept. If you get nothing else from this, understand the difference between biodegradable and non-biodegradable.
So let's drill into that. If I bury a banana peel in my garden, I come back in a month and it's gone. If I bury a plastic bag, it's still there when my great-great-grandchildren are born. Why? What is actually stopping nature from eating the plastic?
It all comes down to enzymes. Think of decomposers, bacteria, fungi, worms as nature's demolition crew.
Okay.
They've evolved over millions of years to have specific enzymes that act like keys.
Keys.
Chemical keys. These enzymes unlock the bonds in organic matter cellulose proteins, and they break it down for energy. Nature has a key for the banana peel. It fits the lock.
But not for synthetic plastics.
They are the problem. Polymers like polyethylene are these long, complex chains of molecules that just didn't exist in nature until about a century ago.
So nature hasn't had time to evolve a key.
Exactly. It hasn't evolved a pair of scissors that can cut those bonds.
It's like giving a book written in English to someone who only reads French. They literally can't process it.
That's a great analogy. The bacteria just slide right off it. That plastic bag is invisible to them as food.
And that's why it clogs the system. It's not just sitting there. It's physically blocking the flow of water, of nutrients.
It refuses to join the cycle.
And the sources really emphasize this isn't just an aesthetic issue. When this non-biodegradable waste builds up, it clogs sewers. It causes waterlogging.
It creates breeding grounds for disease because the water can't drain. It breaks the whole hydraulic flow of the environment.
So because nature can't handle it, we have to. And this brings us to the human part, segregation. Now, I'll be honest, looking at these color-coded bin systems, it feels like a lot of work. Green, blue, red.
Yeah.
Do we really need to be this granular? I mean, who has the time on a Tuesday night to triage their own trash?
It feels like a chore, I get it, until you understand the chemistry of what happens when you mix them. It's not about being tidy, it's about chemical safety.
Okay, so walk me through it. The green bin is for the wet stuff, right? The
Right.
food.
Green is for biodegradables, kitchen waste, peels, garden trimmings. This is the stuff that can rot, so we want it to rot in a controlled way to make compost.
Got it. Then the blue bin.
Blue is for recyclables. Glass, metal, plastic. These are resources that need to be sent to factories to be melted down and reformed into new things.
Okay, those two make sense. But the one that stood out to me in the research, and the one I think most people get wrong, is the red bin.
Hmm.
The text calls this toxic waste. Now, I usually think toxic waste is, nuclear plants or sci-fi movies, not my bathroom cabinet.
And that's the dangerous misconception. The red bin is for household hazards. We're talking old batteries, expired medicine, used syringes, even some types of cosmetics.
So what happens if I just toss a couple of AA batteries into the green bin with my potato peels? I mean, does it really matter?
It matters immensely. It's a catastrophe, eventually.
Yeah.
The casing of the battery corrodes. The heavy metals inside, we're talking mercury, lead, cadmium, they leak out.
Okay.
If that's in a landfill or mixed with your compost, those metals leach into the soil, they hit the groundwater.
And then we drink the water.
Yeah. Or the crops drink the water. And here's the scary part. Bioaccumulation. You eat the plant, the metal stays in you, it doesn't leave.
Wow.
The source material highlights this as a direct line to carcinogenic risks. So that red bin isn't just sorting, it's a containment shield for the local water table.
That actually changes my perspective. It's not about being a good citizen, it's about not poisoning your own well.
That's it, exactly.
So we've got our bins sorted, but the research argues that waste management starts way before we even throw something away. We've all heard of the 3 R's, reduce, reuse, recycle, but apparently that's outdated.
It's not so much outdated as it is incomplete. The modern strategy has evolved to the 5 R's. It just adds more nuance to the life cycle of a product.
Let's break these down because the additions are really interesting. The first one is refuse.
And this one's the most powerful, I think, because it's psychological. It's a behavioral change.
Right.
Refuse means stopping the waste before it even enters your life.
So this is saying no to the free keychain or the extra plastic bag at the store.
Exactly. It tackles impulsive buying. If you refuse the item, you never have to manage it as waste. It's zero impact.
Then we have reduce, which is pretty standard, just consume less. I like the example they used with students and notebooks.
Yes, taking the unused pages from old notebooks to make a new one for rough work. It's simple, but it reduces demand for new paper.
Then reuse.
Extending the life of an object. The classic jam jar becoming a spice container, or reusing plastic bags until they physically fall apart.
And then recycle. And I think we need to clarify this. The difference between reuse and recycle, because people use them interchangeably.
A lot of people do, yeah. Reuse keeps the item as it is. A jar is still a jar. Recycle involves a technological process. It means taking the material, like a plastic bottle,
Melting it down.
and processing it to make a completely different item like synthetic fiber for a t-shirt.
Okay, so that brings us to the 5th R, the new one, reform. This one sounded very similar to recycle to me. What's the distinction?
This is a crucial technical distinction. It has to do with the type of plastic. Recycling usually refers to mechanical recycling, melting and reshaping. But you have these other plastics called thermosetting plastics.
Thermosetting.
Think of things like Bakelite or certain durable resins. If you try to melt them, they don't melt. They burn or char. You can't just reshape them.
So they're a dead end.
Usually, yes. But reform refers to chemical recycling. It involves these complex chemical processes to actually break the polymer chains back down into their raw monomer.
Oh, wow.
You're dismantling the Lego castle brick by brick to get the original petroleum base back, which can then be used to make new plastic.
So recycling is just reshaping the castle.
Yeah.
Reform is breaking it all down to make brand new bricks.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. It's very energy intensive, but it's the only way to close the loop on those really difficult materials.
Speaking of difficult materials, we have to talk about the plastic dilemma. The sources are very firm on one thing. Do not burn it. But if it doesn't rot, and we're not supposed to bury it, why can't we just burn it for energy?
Because you are trading a solid waste problem for a toxicity problem. Burning plastic releases dioxins and furans,
Which are?
highly carcinogenic gases. You are essentially aerosolizing the poison.
So the rule is,
Mm-hmm.
avoid it, reuse it, or recycle it. Never burn.
Correct.
Now, let's flip to the other big material, paper. This one feels more hopeful because it is biodegradable. But the issue here is where it comes from.
Trees. The demand for paper drives deforestation. So even though paper rots, wasting it is an environmental crime because of the resource cost to produce it.
Which leads me to my favorite part of the source material. I usually gloss over the arts and crafts sections, but this one, making your own paper, that actually sounds weirdly satisfying. Have you ever done this?
It's low-tech recycling right in your kitchen. It's surprisingly effective.
The process they describe is basically you're making a smoothie out of old utility bills.
That's one way to handle your debt, I suppose.
You just shred the newspaper into tiny bits, you soak it in hot water,
For about half an hour, yeah.
and then you just mash it all into a pulp.
A paper soup, essentially.
And then, this is the part I like, you roll it out on a mesh or some foil like you're making pizza dough. You press the water out, roll it flat, and let it dry.
It connects you to the process, doesn't it?
It does.
When you buy a ream of paper, it's just a commodity. When you have to mash the pulp and squeeze the water out yourself, you realize, oh, this is actually wood fiber. This used to be a tree.
Exactly. And the guide suggests adding things like flower petals or leaves into the pulp. It turns what was effectively trash old newsprint into something you'd pay $5 for at a stationery store.
It proves that value is just about how much effort you put into the processing. It's reform on a micro scale.
So we've covered the dry stuff, plastic and paper. But what about the wet, smelly stuff? The greens in our bin. The source talks about nature's own recycling method. Composting.
Compost is essential. It's the management method for all biodegradable waste. It turns that organic material into nutrient-rich manure.
But you can't just throw food in a pile and hope for the best.
No, there's a recipe. You need your greens and your browns.
Right.
The decomposers need a balanced diet. Greens are your nitrogen source kitchen scraps, fresh grass. Browns are the carbon source dried leaves, straw, sawdust.
What happens if you only have greens?
You get a slimy, smelly mess. You need the browns to give it structure and aeration.
But there is a turbocharged version of this mentioned called vermicomposting. And this involves, well, worms.
Not just any worms. Red worms.
What makes a red worm so special? Why not the earthworm I see on the sidewalk?
Red worms are surface feeders. They are just voracious eaters of organic decay. The source says they can degrade waste into manure in just 3 to 4 weeks.
That is incredibly fast. So nature might take a month to dissolve a banana peel on its own, but with red worms, you're getting high-grade fertilizer in the same amount of time.
It just accelerates the whole cycle. It's efficient biological engineering.
Now, we do have to address the reality. We can't compost everything and we can't recycle everything. Eventually, some stuff just has to go somewhere. Landfilling.
The age-old method. Dig a hole, bury the waste. It sounds primitive, and it is, but it's still the primary method for most of the world.
But there's a surprising twist about landfills in the source material. They're not just a dead zone forever.
No. The text suggests that once a landfill is full, it can be capped and then redeveloped into a park.
It's a nice image, kids playing soccer on top of a sealed mountain of 1990s garbage.
It is a symbol of resilience, sure, but it's also a warning. We can hide the waste, plant grass over it, and call it a park. But underneath all that,
That plastic bag is still there.
that plastic bag from our thought experiment earlier, it's still there, waiting for those enzymes that haven't evolved yet.
It's a geological layer of our own making.
Precisely.
That really brings it all full circle.
Mm.
We started with the rock garden and Chandigarh waste becoming art. And we've ended with landfills becoming parks, waste sites becoming nature.
It highlights the connectivity of it all, doesn't it? How household choices about segregation can impact something as big as groundwater safety.
It really changes how you look at the bin under your sink. It's not a black hole. It's a waiting room. The things we throw away are either going to become soil, thanks to a red worm, or they're going to become a permanent layer of the Earth's crust.
And the choice is entirely in which bin you open.
That's the takeaway, I think. The 5 R's aren't just rules for school kids. They are a filter for our own efficiency. Refuse the junk, reform the chemistry, and respect the biology.
Well said.
That seems like a good place to leave it. So if our waste can become a park and our old newspapers can become art, what other trash in our lives is just a resource waiting for the right strategy? Refuse, reform, or reuse to unlock its value.
Something to think about.
Thanks for diving in with us. Go check your batteries, maybe refuse a straw today, and we'll see you in the next deep dive.